Shohei Ohtani cleaned up at the All-MLB Awards show. Mookie Betts and Teo joined him, and the Dodgers are in on a front-end starter. Which one should they go after? Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us where we find podcasts. I forgot. This is a daily podcast about the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. You can find us where we find podcasts, and on YouTube, you can subscribe, make it easier on yourself by getting notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube. You can also become an everydayer by listening or watching every day. If this is your first time listening, watching, welcome. I'm Vince Samperio, usually joined by Jeff Snyder, my co-host, but Jeff's out today, and you just get me. But Jeff and I have been doing this podcast for 6+ seasons now. We've been doing the Dodger podcast for 9 seasons now. We've been covering the team for 10 seasons now. So, we're deep in the game, in the Dodger game. We're here to talk Dodgers, think Dodgers, and, bring you everything Dodgers. And we're once again here to do that today. And we're going to start off with the All-MLB Awards show, which happened on Thursday in Las Vegas, aired on Thursday evening on MLB Network. If you haven't checked it out, maybe they'll replay it or it's somewhere to watch, but Mookie Betts was there. He joined in with Jose Iglesias as he performed his OMG song. And then, Mookie made sure that when Mookie was announced as All-MLB, Mookie was first team All-MLB for outfield when they brought him up. And, they said, you got any advice for all these guys here that are looking to be like you to, win those championships? And Mookie said, yeah, they can wait 7 years. After that, they can win. And I feel like seeing some of the talk on social media, people felt like that was like cocky Mookie. I think it was more like, I don't have any advice for you because I'm still trying to win. And I don't want to give you, a leg up in that department. So, but yeah, either way, it was a show that was missing Shohei Ohtani and could have used him. They did say on the show that he probably would have been there had he not had the surgery coming off the injury in the World Series. So that would have been cool. But Shohei Ohtani was the big winner of the night. He took home the Edgar Martinez Outstanding DH Award. He took home the Hank Aaron Award for the National League. And, of course, he was named first team All-MLB for DH. So a big night for Ohtani on top of what is a big season and ahead of next week when he's likely to be named the National League MVP. So, shout out to Ohtani. Outstanding DH Award, duh. First team All-MLB, DH, duh. The Hank Aaron Award, which is given to the player in each league with the best offensive season, duh. Like it's when you go 50-50, it's hard to really have any quibbles or qualms with you winning a bunch of awards, and then especially on top of that when you're one of the biggest faces, if not the biggest face in baseball right now. So shout out to Ohtani, congrats to him. Just a few more things to put there in his trophy case. I'm sure he's going to have to make room because he's going to get a lot of awards this year. He's already had a lot of awards, and he's going to continue to rack up awards and probably get himself a World Series trophy up there too. So, and hopefully a few of those. So, good on Ohtani. Like I mentioned, Mookie Betts was also named first team All-MLB for outfield. And then the Dodgers had another outfielder, Teoscar Hernandez, named second team All-MLB. So, all in all, Dodgers had 3 players on the All-MLB team. If this is your first time hearing of All-MLB team, that's because it's fairly new. It's been around for, I believe, 5 years now. And, it's it's the a full season, all-star team essentially. All-star teams can be a little bit I don't know the right word, but they're not always representative of the best players in baseball because it's whoever had the best like first half of the season sometimes, and sometimes those guys aren't the same as those who end up having the better full season. And I think when you look at these all MLB teams, you realize that there is a little bit of a distinction because there is some top tier names here in terms of who was on the all MLB team, and it's guys that are probably known to most baseball fans, um, and maybe even some of the casual fans. I mean, you got William Contreras, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Ketel Marte, Bobby Witt Jr., Jose Ramirez, Judge, Soto, Mookie, Ohtani, Chris Sale, Turk Skubal, Paul Skeens, Zach Wheeler, Corbin Burnes, Emmanuel Clase, Ryan Helsley. That was first team. Second team, Salvador Perez, Bryce Harper, Altuve, Lindor, Machado, Jackson Merrill, Jaron Duran, Teoscar Hernandez, Jordan, Seth Lugo, Dylan Cease, Shota Imanaga, Framber Valdez, Michael King, Mason Miller, Kirby Yates. Maybe if you get into that second team, it drops off a little in terms of name recognition, but some of those guys were standouts that were surprises maybe at the All-Star game and then continue to be really good the entire season. So, it was I like what MLB is doing, the all MLB team. And now they have, the award show and, they have some more player participation. I think it was the second year of the award show. I think last year they just had, a handful of players in attendance. Yesterday they had almost a representative from every position or award in attendance. On top of that, with the MLB draft, they had, I think 6 players at the MLB draft that were taken in the first round. I like what MLB is doing. Obviously you see that the draft is a huge thing for the NFL and NBA. MLB is trying to get it that way. You have, the award shows where you can show off some personality. You can, get some celebrities. You can, do different things to make baseball cool. And I think that MLB is doing a good job of trying to do that and, show off, like I said, player personalities, their outfits, the award show, the red carpet, all that type of stuff. And I'm sure it'll only continue to keep growing and, should be fun. And hopefully they continue to do other things that continue to showcase the best players in the world, the best players in baseball. And obviously it's hard sometimes when there's a lot of other things going on in the world, but if you have something to look to the bright side for, it should be baseball. And MLB is trying to help itself out, which it maybe hasn't always done. So we appreciate them for that. Dodgers, had a good night at the award show, and I'm sure we'll have a good Thursday again next week when Ohtani is named NL MVP. So there's been reports of what we kind of already figured, which is the Dodgers are going to go after one of the top tier starters. What are the reports? Who should they go after? We're going to get into it, so make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Select Quote. There is the World Series. There's the Super Bowl. There's the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing, teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future because Select Quote has licensed insurance agents that are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less. While Select Quote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. You invest so much time to take care of yourself and be the healthiest, best version of you. Select Quote's exclusive policies can reward that effort. If you're in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million with no medical exam required. Head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Select Quote. They shop, you save. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. That's selectquote.com/lockedon to get started. That's selectquote.com/locked-on. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Might be your first listen of the day today since we didn't go live on Thursday evening. You know, Jeff had some family things going on. I was actually in Las Vegas for the MLB Awards show and red carpet. So, you know, I had some things going on and, you know, wasn't able to get to this episode until Friday morning, but we're not going to miss a day. So we're still bringing it to you here on this Friday morning. So first listen, last listen, second listen. We appreciate any listen. So, you know, thank you for that. Remember, you can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles. Those are two 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network on YouTube, bringing the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. All right, so a couple different reports having the Dodgers targeting a high-end starter, top-tier starter, top-flight starter, however you want to say it. Basically a number one or a number two, depend. You know, the Dodgers have some talent on the team already. Jeff Passan mentioned the Dodgers are targeting at least one high-end starter. Yeah, John Heyman saying that the Dodgers are looking into ace free agents, Blake Snell, Corbin Burnes, and Max Fried. In addition to hopefully trying to land Roki Sasaki, John Heyman also mentioned re-signing Walker Buehler as a potential option. And, you know, that Burnes, Snell, Fried, they all warrant a deep dive into, and maybe that'll be an episode next week of, you know, which one the Dodgers or what are the pros and cons for both and which one should the Dodgers be targeting. But, you know, just wanted to talk through it here a little bit and kind of give some high level thoughts into what the Dodgers may be thinking. And, you know, maybe that finds someone that you think fits better. You know, some of the high level thoughts is that the Dodgers rotation as it currently stands is heavily right-handed. If that matters to you, in terms of you don't want an all right-handed rotation, I can understand. Ultimately, if you have five guys that can get righties and lefties out, it doesn't really matter. You know, a change of pace, I don't know how much that really affects hitters. Like if you game one of a series, you're facing a righty, game two, you're facing a lefty, you're going to have to, you know, kind of change everything anyways. And I think for the Dodgers, like righty lefty is not a big deal as much as maybe more variation in types of pitchers. Tyler Glasnow is not the same pitcher as Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's not the same pitcher as Shohei Ohtani, who's not the same pitcher as, you know, Bobby Miller, who's not the same pitcher as whoever else is in the rotation. So I think that's more important. You know, if you have five guys that all throw fastball sliders as their main pitchers, or fastball changeups as their main pitchers, or, you know, fastball sweepers as their main pitchers, then yeah, maybe that's a little bit of a help to the other team. But if it comes down to you have five righties, five lefties, three righties, two lefties, whatever the combination is, I don't think that ultimately matters. But again, there are people that do believe that matters. And if you are one of those people, then you probably prefer Blake Snell or Max Fried because, you know, Corbin Burnes throws right-handed and that wouldn't fit what you want. And when it comes down to Snell and Fried, it's, you know, a tale of two different types of guys. You have Blake Snell, who is lights out when on and who is, you know, a five-inning pitcher when he's not on. And for the most part, the last two seasons, Blake Snell's been on. You know, he had the Cy Young season with the Padres in 23. He probably aided by signing so late. He had a rough start to the season last year, then got hurt. But then when he came back from injury, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball again. And the thing with Snell is that he's obviously he would love a 6 or 7 year deal, but realistically, I think his market is more in the 3-4 year deal, which could fit the Dodgers a little bit better, you know, a little bit more AAV, but a little bit shorter terms. You know, realistically, obviously the Dodgers plan to be good for forever, you know, never have a down season. But when you break it down in terms of, the for sure's, Freddie Freeman, has a few years left. Mookie Betts, you know, prime may only have a few years left before he maybe falls off a little bit, just based on, how guys have been playing this year. Mookie Betts could remain an MVP candidate throughout his whole contract. I don't put anything past them. But I think the window you have is really, 3-4 years right now for this current core, you know, and last year, that's kind of what I had said. Like the window was 2 or 3 years. Maybe that expands a little bit now, but at that time we weren't sure. Last year when we said 2 or 3 year window, that was because Freddie only has a few years left. You got Mookie and Shohei locked in. You got Yamamoto locked in. You got Glasnow locked in. At that point, you had Max Muncy locked in for a few seasons, but you didn't have Will Smith for sure locked in. But now he's locked in. So I think the Dodgers, when it comes to spending money, I do think it'll come in like 3 or 4 year spurts as they continue to churn out, quality MLB players or players that are good enough to trade for MLB quality players, and keep the thing rolling. So I think right now, like Blake Snell fits that timeline, similar to Teoscar Hernandez. Like if they both got 3 year deals, I think the Dodgers would love that. You get those two guys for 3 years, and if it works out, you get a ring or two more. And if it doesn't work out, you're out of the commitments in 3 years, and you can bring in the next batch of guys. And I think that's really beneficial for the Dodgers when it comes down to it. Max Fried probably would command 6-7 years. He is a guy that can anchor a rotation, and has been an anchor for the Braves in the past. And he's 30 years old. He's a guy that has really only had injury issues a couple times in his career. 2023, he only made 14 starts. But if you go back to 2019, this is 30 games started, 11 games started in the 2020 season, 28 games started in 21, 30 starts in 22, 14 in 23, and then 29 starts last year. I know he missed a couple times. You go to the innings, in terms of innings, his highest is 185, which came in 2022 when he finished second in Cy Young voting. But he's a Gold Glove winner for whatever that matters. He's been Cy Young finalist. He's been top 5 Cy Young a couple times. He's been an All-Star a few times. This is a guy who hasn't had an ERA above 3.04 since 2019. And that was the only year he had an ERA above 4. Every other year, it's been very, very good. So, Max Fried is legit, and he's a guy that, you can feel as comfortable as you're going to feel signing someone to a long-term deal that, that's as comfortable as you can be with a guy like Max Fried. And it is interesting with Snell and Fried, like they're not that far apart in age. It's a couple years, but those couple years is the difference between a 3-4 year deal and a 6-7 year deal. If you count on the high end of both of those, or the high end for one and the low end for the other. But either way, I don't think there's a wrong answer between Snell and Fried. I think, it depends on what you want. And I think it'll depend what it's all going to come down to price at the end of the day. If someone offers Blake Snell a 4 or 5 year deal, I don't think the Dodgers would be intent on matching that. If someone offers Max Fried an 8 year deal, I don't think they'd be intent on matching that. But if they're in the realm of possibility, I think it happens. And, I don't want to leave Corbin Burnes out of this, but it did end up becoming a discussion of left-handers. But Corbin Burnes, same thing. He's been a guy that has been legit. He's been, a Cy Young candidate. He is 30 years old, so he would command, maybe more of a 6 to 8 year deal, depending how comfortable you are with him. And he is a guy that, going back to 2021, when his first full season, 28 starts, 33 starts, 32 starts, 32 starts, innings wise, 167, 202, 193, 194. Like that's an ace. That's a guy that's taking the ball every 5th day or 6th day, if it comes down to the Dodgers 6-man rotation. And that's a guy that you can count on. And yeah, the strikeout numbers have gone down a little bit in recent years, but he can still dial it up when you need to. And, you always kind of expect the Dodgers analytics team and pitching staff to kind of unlock some things or change some things up or get the best out of guys. So again, between Burnes, Snell, and Fried, there's no wrong answer. When it comes down to money, money ultimately doesn't matter for the Dodgers. If they want to pay someone, they can pay someone, and it's not going to be a big deal. So we'll break down deeper Snell and Fried and Burnes and maybe give a more concrete answer of who we think the Dodgers should ultimately go after the hardest. But again, when you're looking at top tier pitching, you can't go wrong with those guys. And if it ends up being in addition to getting Roki Sasaki on a minor league deal, then you're looking at a very fruitful offseason for the Dodgers. So that's going to do it for this segment. We're going to talk some other rumors, updates, different tidbits that we've been seeing about the Dodgers and, from the reporters. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. And you can do it all from the FanDuel Sportsbook app because that app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Live bets are some of the best ways to bet. Is one of the best ways to bet, at least in my opinion. If you know a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, who haven't really been in the lead a lot of these games, but are undefeated. If you see the Kansas City Chiefs losing by a touchdown in the fourth quarter and you think, man, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, boom, you head over to the FanDuel Sportsbook app and you place that live bet. And, if you want to check out some more stats, like maybe you're not watching the game, how are the Chiefs losing this game by touchdown? You can check out the latest stats. You can view the live play-by-play and so much more on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. And remember, if you just put $5 down and you win that bet, you get $150 in bonus bets to continue the fun with the FanDuel Sportsbook app. So go over to FanDuel.com to get started. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We want to thank you for being an everydayer, and everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. We appreciate you if you are one. And if you're one of those everydayers that likes to watch the live episodes, we apologize. Sometimes we're not going to have live episodes, but sometimes, most of the time, we are. If we're going to try to. So, and remember, you can go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. It's a few bucks a month, and you can get texts directly from us, giving you updates and thoughts and rumors and all that type of stuff about the Dodgers. In case you don't have time to be on social media all day, especially now where, Twitter and Blue Sky, and there's a lot going on, and you don't know what to be part of. Well, all you have to do is go to be a part of the Locked On Dodgers Insider Group, and you'll get all that info for you right there. So, all right. So I mentioned the Dodgers going after a high-end starter. Jeff Passan dropped an article about his offseason preview a couple of days ago. John Heyman, Nightingale, some of the other big guys, they're dropping in nuggets almost on a daily basis at this point. And a lot of it has been, the same types of things. And a lot of it is what we say to take with a grain of salt in terms of the Dodgers. The Dodgers are going to be linked to every big player. But, when it goes to a specific player, I think you take it with a little bit more grain of salt. When it goes a little more broad, like they're going after a high-end starter, top-end starter, whatever it is, then I think, that's a little bit more concrete in the sense of, if you say the Dodgers are going after Corbin Burnes, Corbin Burnes' agent could have leaked that. If you're saying the Dodgers are going after a high-end starter, then that might be coming from the Dodgers camp. So, realistically, every report is a rumor until it's not. But, it's just you don't want to chase every rumor this offseason because you go crazy. But I do think one of the things that has been for sure is the Juan Soto sweepstakes. The Dodgers were – I think some of the wording has gotten lost in a lot of this with Juan Soto. The initial report from John Heyman was the Dodgers would be interested if Juan Soto's interested. The Dodgers were, named as one of the 6 to 8 teams that would have interest in Juan Soto. But realistically, I could have gave you 6 to 8 teams without having any sources because it's realistically coming down to teams that can afford him. And yes, obviously the Dodgers are a team that can afford him. The Mets are a team that can afford him. The Yankees are a team that can afford him. The Red Sox have thrown their hat in the ring, and they actually had a meeting with him already. The Blue Jays, they have the money to afford him. So, none of these things are far off from what you'd already think, just based on knowledge of what the teams have. But the reports now, when it comes to Soto and the Dodgers, are a little bit different. Jeff Passan says the Dodgers won't chase Juan Soto. They'll consider him if his market softens. And the Dodgers aren't one of the teams that currently have a meeting scheduled with Juan Soto. And I think that makes sense. Like, as much as Juan Soto would help the team, the Dodgers may not be looking to pay $500-600 million plus for a guy that can't field as well and doesn't have a spot if he can't play the outfield. I am all for, if the market's right, you go get Juan Soto and you figure it out later. I've said you can handle Juan Soto in the outfield for a few seasons, and if Freddie doesn't return after his contract ends or retires or whatever the case, Juan Soto can, unless he's Jock Peterson, Juan Soto could learn first base, and I don't think there'd be an issue, and he'd be fine there. Obviously, the Dodgers have DH locked up for 9 more seasons, unless something happens on the pitching side for Ohtani and he does end up becoming a position player, but, we're not going to count on that. So, yeah, for the Juan Soto market, for the Dodgers, it's softening up, not a big surprise. That's just, the way things go. One other note that John Heyman had, and it wasn't more so a report as just kind of reading the tea leaves. He says Dodgers second baseman Gavin Lux was dangled in at least one deadline bid. Seemed like a trade candidate, especially when Mookie Betts moving to the infield. This is something we talked about a little bit already. If Mookie's coming into the infield and we're assuming it's going to be at second base, I don't know if Gavin Lux can handle shortstop. We defensively, and he had a really good season at second base. He made a lot of good plays. We never had to really worry about his throwing woes there, but I can't say for sure they move him back over and everything's fixed in terms of him being able to throw the ball. And if they have Miguel Rojas, Sam Tommy Edman, and depending what else they want to do around with the other positions, there may not be room for Gavin Lux. And as rough of a season it was, and the Dodgers are never going to be a sell low candidate or a team that sells low. But I do think the Dodgers, if you're the Dodgers and you are considering this, you can, really show that 6 to 8 week stretch where Gavin Lux was, one of the best hitters in baseball, and kind of sell that as, look, when he's right, he's right. And, we feel like maybe he could be right with your team. So again, I'm never going to advocate for someone to get traded, because, these guys are all human, and, you don't want to be like, oh yeah, they need to trade him. But it all comes down to the roster. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about these people as, human beings, or we're talking about them as human beings, but not necessarily he's a nice guy, I don't want to trade him. It's more of the Dodgers roster spot or the Dodgers roster would be stronger if they found a way to get a different position or a different player with this type of guy. So, in terms of Gavin Lux, he's been great for the Dodgers at times. He's struggled at times, and unfortunately, it just might be a matter of a numbers game for Gavin Lux, especially if they don't feel comfortable putting him back at shortstop. So we'll see what happens there. There's a lot that can happen this offseason. Looking at the Dodgers 40-man roster a little bit, there's currently 37 guys on the 40-man roster, and that's without some of these guys that they could re-sign: Teoscar Hernandez, Kike Hernandez, Blake Trinan, those types of guys. And look at the 40-man roster, and I continue to look at the catcher position. 4 catchers on the roster probably doesn't make sense. Could Diego Cartaya be on his way out, or would they find someone to sign Hunter Fiducia, who's a little bit older, not as much of a prospect, but could be a good catcher or backup catcher on another team. You know, you look at a lot of these guys that are injured, it's tough because you can't put them on the 60-day IL right now. So, like, you know, guys like Emmett Sheehan and Gavin Stone and Kyle Hurt, who aren't going to pitch at all next season or might not pitch until, you know, halfway through the season, they're on the 40-man roster, taking up 40-man roster spots. And when you look at the position players, like, there's not as many injuries. It's more so, you know, should this guy still be on the Dodgers roster or 40-man roster? You guys like Diego Cartaya, you know, guys like James Outman, guys like Chris Taylor, like, are they going to last the offseason still with the Dodgers? And, you know, I don't know for sure. I don't think all those guys are going to still be here when it comes to spring training in February, but we don't know for sure. But that's just how it feels. And I think, and that's not even looking at guys that need to be added to the 40-man roster or subject to the Rule 5 draft, which I'm sure there'll be some guys that could be taken in a Rule 5 draft. And we'll look at that, you know, as the offseason continues, we'll look at things like that. We'll look at, you know, other things. But for the Dodgers, it's there's going to be something that surprises us. There's going to be moves that, you know, surprise us. There's going to be moves of maybe potential fan favorites heading out and or not getting re-signed. And I think we just have to prepare ourselves for everything that can happen in an offseason. So that's the fun part. Maybe not so fun part sometimes, but that's the way it is. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us where we get podcasts and on YouTube. Becoming every day or by listening or watching every day. We're here for you every Monday through Friday. Sometimes we go live. That means we're on the night before. But either way, we're here for you every weekday. You can go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles. Those are two 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network. You can follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's on Twitter at SnyDog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us with any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us when you get in your car or if you're at home. Search Smart Device Play Podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.